Hey y'all, I'm Leanne, also known as Chronicurls, and welcome back to my channel. So if you're wondering why I'm doing another perm rod tutorial when I just did one last week, let me just say that every time I do a perm rod set, or almost every time, I get an overwhelming amount of comments that say things like, my hair doesn't do that, how do you get your hair that way, my hair won't last, more than a day, stuff like that. And so I sprinkle little tidbits of information in all of the perm rod tutorials that I have, but I decided that I would just make one tutorial, and I promise I won't make another one again, believe me. But I said that I would just make like one big tutorial that has all the information that you need in it, so that if you're struggling, if you're having issues, if you need a refresher, whatever the case may be, you can come back to this one video and hopefully all of your questions will be answered. So in particular, for this perm rod set that I've done, I don't know if you can notice, but this side looks different than this side, which looks different than back. So I'm going to show you three different ways that you can do your perm rod sets, and I used three different products, three different types of products. I used a, what do you call it? Like a setting foam on this side, a cream on this side, and a gel in the back, because I want y'all to really get a full understanding of which products do what and how they function, how they perform. So before I get into the actual styling of my hair, we're just going to start off with some very basic do's and don'ts. This list is very small, but the first do is make sure your hair is thoroughly detangled. This is considered to be a stretch style, meaning more than likely for most of you, this is not going to be what your natural curl pattern looks like. You're taking your smaller, kinkier, more spirally texture and you're stretching it out into something else. So with that being said, if you have knots in your hair, if your hair is tangled, whatever the case may be, those things are going to be highlighted with the stretch style. So make sure your hair is detangled thoroughly, and I'm going to be showing you exactly how I detangle and smooth my hair to prepare putting my hair onto the rod. That's my only do. My only don't is don't overstuff your rods. I put a lot of perm rods in my hair for a reason. Number one, so my hair will dry. Because if you put a lot of hair that you've rolled onto this piece of plastic, there's going to be no air circulating through that rod. And so it's going to take forever for your hair to dry. And as a matter of fact, this has taken 24 hours for my hair to dry this time. And on top of that, I still had to sit under a dryer for probably about 10-15 minutes, because as I was taking these down while I was filming, my hair was still wet in the back. So just please keep that in mind. Like, you need to have at least, and unless your hair is not very dense and incredibly fine, if you have those two qualities, fine hair and not dense, meaning you don't have a lot of hairs on your head, 24 rods may do. But if your hair is like mine, you're looking at least 30, if not more. So it's uncomfortable. Trust me, it really is. It's better if you sit under a dryer. I'm not gonna say it's better. I'm gonna say it's more comfortable if you sit under a dryer and don't have to sleep in them. I prefer air drying because I feel like my hair is less dry, meaning it's more moisturized if I air dry. I feel like if I heat dry my hair, then it zaps some of the moisture out of my hair. So just want to make that clear. But anyway, use a lot of perm rods. Just suck it up. You at least have a better chance also of having more defined curls and having more longevity in your hairstyle. Because usually I can get my perm rods to last a good 4 to 5 days before I have to start figuring out like stuff to get it out of my face, or this front part gets frizzy and I need to pull it back or do a puff or something like that. So just stick around with me. I think I can get you to where you need to be. Just keep with me. I'm gonna stop talking now because my throat is starting to get kind of scratchy and I'm getting over a cold. Just want to give you a reminder to subscribe to my channel if you have not. Give this video a thumbs up. Like it, share it, please. That's it. I can't talk anymore. So hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see y'all next time. Okay, so my hair has been freshly co-washed, and I also let it dry a little bit in a microfiber towel wrap. I'll then be separating it into 3 sections, and this is mostly just to delineate to y'all which perm rod styles I'm going to be doing today, because like I said, there are 3 different ways to do them. For the left side, I'm using the Mielle Organics White Peony Leave-In Conditioner. And whenever you apply your leave-in conditioner, I encourage you to try to at least finger detangle first. That way you can tell with your fingers which parts of your hair are coated and which ones are not, and you should be able to tell a difference. And if you feel like you need more in certain areas, you can certainly add more if you need to. And then also, once I have started with the finger detangling process, if I feel like I need to detangle more, I'll then separate my hair into smaller sections and then just run my fingers through my hair. One of the other things that you can do as well, just to make sure those cuticles are nice and smooth, is to just grab a chunk of hair and with kind of a closed fist, just smooth your hair down over and over and over again until you feel like it's nice and smooth all the way down to the ends. So before applying the perm rods, I pre-separate my hair into sections. They're usually about 1-inch sections. And for this side, I'm using the Mielle Organics Brazilian Curly Cocktail Curl Mousse. And so for this section, I'm going to show you the more traditional way to roll perm rods, which is starting at the ends and rolling all the way up to the roots. This method will give your hair more of a cylindrical type shape whenever you unroll them. I kind of think about it as that's how I used to roll my bangs when I was a kid. When I wanted to bump my ends, I would just roll it straight up. One of the other things you can do is 2-strand twist the roots, and that will kind of help in the separation process to make them not so frizzy. But like I said, try to use 1-inch sections if you can. Right here, I'm just pre-separating everything out so I don't have to do it later. And apply your product and then start rolling. So I oftentimes get the question as to how do you get your roots straight and stretched and not so puffy? And it's really going to be in the position of your hands. If you can see, I just rolled my hair starting around towards my neck and going up to my roots. And when I do that, it leaves a pretty large gap of hair that I'm not able to get into the rod because it's being stopped by the hair underneath it. And I'm sorry if I'm explaining this the wrong way. But it's kind of one of those things where you have to do it and see it to believe it. I'm going to roll another rod and show you if I just raise the level of my hands to the same horizontal plane as to where my hair is, I can get that perm rod closer to my roots. Therefore, I can get more hair into the rod. Therefore, I'm going to have more stretched hair. And I'm sorry that's so hard to explain, but you can kind of see the difference in terms of where your hands need to be in order for that rod to get as close to your scalp as possible. Okay, so I'm going to quickly continue on with this section. I'm going to apply the curl mousse to each section, smooth it down with my fingers. Sometimes I will also use my detangling brush just to make sure the product is thoroughly distributed through my hair, and then roll my hands up to my roots and be done with that. Okay, so now moving on to the back of my hair. Instead of applying the leave-in conditioner to the whole large section, because the section is so big, I decided to make smaller sections and apply the leave-in conditioner. This time I'm using the Curls Blueberry Bliss Reparative Leave-In Conditioner, as well as the Curls Blueberry Bliss Curl Control Jelly. Also, same thing, first using my fingers to make sure my hair is thoroughly detangled, and then also using my detangling brush to make sure the product is distributed evenly. Whenever you are using a gel or jelly for your hair, I recommend not doing what I did last time with the mousse and applying it in individual sections. This time I recommend applying the jelly to a large section of hair and then continuing on with the style. And the reason why I say that is because when you have a gel, it's really difficult to make sure you're using the same amount for each section. So with that being said, if you apply it to a much larger section, you have a better chance of not having it get cakey and flaky and get built up and you end up having flakes and whatnot in your hair. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. So with this section of hair, instead of rolling the rods from the ends up, I'm rolling them from the top down. So what you do is you start from the roots. You place your rod by placing it about, I want to say maybe an inch or so away from your scalp. and then just taking your hand in one motion without letting go of the hair and rolling it all the way down to the ends and securing the rod in place. This is my least favorite way to do these because this method is kind of difficult to do. You have to have the perfect product and your hair has to be the perfect amount of wetness in order to get those ends to stick to the rod. And as you can see, I'm struggling just a little bit with getting it in place. I have another video using these exact same products doing this method. For some reason this time my hair didn't really turn out the exact way that I wanted it to in the back. So I'm just going to link that other video using this method and show you what it's really supposed to look like. In order to get those rods to stick to the end of your hair, you also need to make sure your ends are nice and wet and sticky. So you may need to apply more product to the ends of your hair to get that hair to stick into place. So that is why I usually recommend using a gel or a really heavy cream whenever you're doing this method. I mean, you could also use a setting foam as well. I've tried it in the past, I just didn't have the greatest luck with that just because it wasn't sticky enough, but if you have the perfect product, it'll work out really well. The result is really beautiful, it's just a bit more labor intensive. So now moving on to the remainder of my hair, I'm using the Main Choice 3-in-1 Revitalize and Refresh leave-in conditioner, as well as their Pink Lemonade and Coconut Curl Boosting Sherbet. Same thing, applying it in large sections, making sure I'm grabbing my hair, detangling really well, and then smoothing it with my fingers all the way down to my ends. I get a lot of questions about how do you keep your ends from getting frizzy, and my first response, I should say, would be make sure your ends have been trimmed recently. If you haven't had a good trim in the past 6 months or even longer, then it may be time to do so if your ends are really frizzy. The other thing that I do, and I'm going to slow this down for you in a little bit, is whenever I apply the perm rod or put the perm rod close to my hair, I'll take it and put it to the end, and I'll slide my hand down just a little bit just to make sure those ends are nice and tight, and then continue to wrap my hair around the rod. With this method in particular, I'm showing you how to do it using the twist and curl or roll and curl or whatever you want to call curl technique, which is kind of a hybrid between the traditional technique and the last one I showed you. It gives you the same type of curl or similar type of curl as the method I did on the back, but it's a lot easier to do and your ends are nice and tucked in, allowing your to be nice and smooth. So I fully intended to sit under the dryer this time just because I really wanted to get this video over and done with, but that didn't really happen. Our power went out, so I ended up having to keep the rods in for about 24 hours. And as a matter of fact, once I get up to a certain part of my hair, I realize my hair is still wet, which is why I make that face. So I go into the dryer for about 10-15 minutes and then proceed to take out the rest of my rods. So once I'm done with the back, I then proceed to take out the left side of my hair next, which is the more traditional method that I use to roll the rods with the Mielle Organics products. So now moving on to the right side, which is what I call the curl and twirl method, and it looks relatively different than the left side, if I do say so myself. Also keep in mind the takedown method is going to be the same no matter what rolling method that you use. So before I begin the separating process, I'm going to oil up my fingertips with some avocado oil and just kind of press it into my hair and then begin separating my hair. So to separate my curls, I'll just take my fingertips and starting at the root, run my fingers down my hair and separate my hair where it naturally wants to separate. I'll then take that one section and then twist it around my finger so it makes a nice ringlet curl. So since the back didn't dry completely, I'm going to be linking the video to show you exactly how it's supposed to look when your hair dries using the top-down method. So once I'm done separating, I'll then pick out my hair. Just picking out the roots only, I'll take my one hand and lift up my hair, and then using the other hand, I'll just lift up at the roots ever so slightly. If you have any questions regarding anything I covered or didn't cover in this video, please leave them in the comment section below. My computer was running out of space, so I'm gonna have to upload the nighttime routine after this one, and that video should be coming up soon, so make sure you watch that one as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see y'all on the next one.